not miss your friends. Even today we miss our friends. Those who are lost forever. Okay, so we'll continue with our questions and our efforts to keep things alive in our mind. And I could see the performance that you showed on the very first term of your presentation. That was very nice. We'll continue, and here we go with some questions. Charlie, here is the first question. What's the name of the poem where a mother goes out to find out a cross? What's the name of a poem where a mother goes out to find out a cross? Come on, dear. Even those who are online may reply. Shallon? Eleni, that's the right answer. In Eleni, we find Helena going out to search for Holy Cross. Vinay,
Yes.
who called Geoffrey Chaucer father of English poetry? That's nice one, Nazir. Good one, Preeti. Who called Geoffrey Chaucer father of English poetry? Ishari?
No,
No idea.
sir, I didn't read.
I haven't read.
Nashmi?
Sir, I think John Dart.
That's the right answer. John Dart, last time I gave you a statement and everything. I told you that he called him father of verse, and there's the term comes as a father of English poetry. Okay. Which Ponbai, which incident took place in 1066 that marked the end of whole period of English literature? No. Incident. Name of that incident that marks the end of the whole period. That's a good answer, Preeti and Nazir. That's good one, Nazir. Well, Abhishek,
Sir,
What?
repeat the question.
tell the incident that took place in 1066 that changed or that marked the end of whole period of English literature.
In 1066, there was Norman contest.
That's very nice answer. Norman conquest. This conquest took place in 1066 and it marks the end of the whole period. Okay. Nashmi, which language was the language of literature during the whole period?
Sir, German language.
That's right answer. German language. Shalini, tell the name of the three tribes that were collectively called Teutonic tribes. Yes. Yeah. Okay, I think, Sheldon will reply yes.
Saxons, Jutes, Angels.
Okay, Jutes, Angles, and Saxons. They were the three German tribes,
They are on the Teutonic.
yeah, that were collectively named as Teutonic tribes. Ishari. Which poem from the old period is a communication between an old man and a young boy? Thank you. That's a sea far, where an old man is recalling his younger time when he was young and he used to love sea life and how he, when he becomes old and he is unable to enjoy that sea life. Okay. Nashmin, your question. That's good one, Nazir. Which poem from the old period is supposed to be the source or further development for John Milton's Paradise Regained?
Christ and Saturn.
That's right answer. Christ and Saturn. Very good. Pawan, who is considered to be father of English prose?
John Billy. John Billy.
John Wycliffe. Okay, that's right answer. John Wycliffe. Abhishek. Tell the name of country for which journey Helena starred in Eleni.
Rome.
Even better.
Country Italy.
Even better. That's good one, Nazir. And Preeti. Abhishek.
Jerusalem.
Jerusalem. That's a religious place. And goes to Israel. From Israel. Okay, that's good one. After Israel, she reaches the city of Jerusalem. Okay, so Jerusalem is not a country, that's a city. Okay. Well, now I'll move to the next question. Vinay, which poem from the old period narrates the story of many apostles?
The Fates of Apostles.
That's right answer. The Fates of Apostles that narrates the story of 12 apostles. Yeah, it's good one. Nashmi, which poem is based on inscription on the Ruthwell cross?
The dream of the root.
That's very nice answer. The dream of the root. That's based on the inscription that was found on the Ruthwell cross. Shalini, tell the name of the scholar who decided that the city whose ruination was cried over lamented in the poem that you involved was the city of Bath. Tell the name of the scholar. Yeah. Heinrich Leo. That's the right answer. Heinrich Leo in 1865 considered that the city should be city of Bath. Nashmi, what's the meaning of mortuary from the poem?
The troubles on man's mind.
Okay, that's the right answer. Mortuary means troubled man or trouble in man's mind. That's the right answer. This comes from the Wanderer. That's good one. Preeti. Okay. Vinay, your question. Which poem is called poem of wisdom from the old period?
The Andreas. The Andreas.
No. Poem of wisdom or wisdom poem. That's a term. Surely
The Wanderer.
the wanderers. That's the right answer. In fact, the wanderer is a yeah. It's a kind of tour of a man's mind from where at first he was troubled, he was in difficulties, and later on, after realizing, he finds himself a wise man, understands the meaning of this life, and understands the incident in life. So it becomes wise poem or wisdom poem. Pawan bhai, which poem from the old period is considered to be the first dramatic monologue?
Indians.
No.
Oh, just see here.
The Seafarer, that's the right answer. The Seafarer is supposed to be the first dramatic monologue. Vinay, tell a poem from the old period that shows the travel account. That's good one, Nazir. Travel account.
The Wanderer and the Seafarer. The Wanderer and the Seafarer.
The Wanderer and the Seafarer, they are not the exactly travel account. Shall
Good see.
Wind that's right answer. Wind the far wanderer is supposed to be the first travelogue or travel account. That's a good one, Nazir. Shalini, your question. What's the sub-name for the Seidman manuscript? Sub-name or subtitle for Seidman manuscript. Okay, Nashmi.
The juniors.
Junius manuscript, that's the right answer. That's the first manuscript that was used to tell the life and especially credited with 4 or 5 poems in all, and goes to Junius, who was a kind of person, Francis Junius. We have studied in 1655, and he contributed, if I donated these poems to them, and this is how its name comes as Junius manuscripts. So you should remember, dear. How can you forget?
Pronunciation is Seidman.
Seidman. Okay.
I pronunciate it Kedman.
Not big issue, because in old it was sometimes called Kedman as well, and Seidman as well. Today we still call him Seidman. Okay, now we move to the next. Shalini, where is the second setting of the Beowulf? Beowulf. That's the first setting, dear. No, Nazir. Yeah, southern Sweden. That's good one. Southern Sweden. That's the real setting for the poem Beowulf. Okay. Born by the question. Tell the name of a poem where a wife cries over the behavior of her husband after marriage. Tell the name of the poem where a husband. No. See, tell the name of the poem where a wife cries over the misbehavior of her husband.
The wife's complaint.
That's the right answer. The wife's complaint. Here we find that wife is crying over her husband's behavior, where he almost had forsaken her, and she lives lonely. Okay. Abhishek, tell the name of the yeah, Abhishek. Tell the name of the authors who are related, particularly who are related to the Renaissance from Italy.
Author.
Yeah. 2, 3, 4 well-known poets and authors that are related to our Renaissance from Italy.
Petra,
That's very good.
Homer,
No, no, no. Homer, long, long ago. Come on, go.
Geoffrey Chaucer,
Chaucer
Italy.
is from England. Yeah, yeah. Okay, I think Ashwin will tell us.
Cardio
Boccaccio, that's the right one.
and
Vishali, it seems like
I
Mila
know
Jula
that.
Prayas.
I will have the
Boccaccio and the next comes from Dante. So these are the three big names that we give credit to bring out Renaissance in Italy.
I also did one more.
Sure. Contribute.
so Machiavelli,
Come
sir,
on.
Machiavelli was
Leonardo da Vinci.
That's a
There
good
is a
one.
painter and as well as.
Yes, sure, sure. In fact, the question was about authors and poets. So we were not mentioning about painters.
Yes, because you were teaching this, they gave some images of.
Yes, sure, sure. To go for new world. Yes, so through their painting, they could inspire like Leonardo da Vinci, Machiavelli, and Raphael, who were the great painters. Well, on by your question. What was name of Geoffrey Chaucer's wife? You must remember, I think. Wife cannot be forgotten. Come on, name of Chaucer's wife. That's a good one, Nazir. Okay, I think Shalini will tell us. Philippa Roach. That's the right answer. Philippa Roach is a wife whom possibly Geoffrey Chaucer married in 1366, and she continued to be his partner till she breathed her last in 1386 or 87. That's a nice one. Nazir and Preeti. Well, Shalan, whom did Geoffrey Chaucer dedicate his treatise?
Lavish.
Okay, Lavis. Lavis was his last son, and he dedicated it to him. Okay, Kanchan, tell the name of the critic who considered that the theme of the poem Ruined Bull is not exactly lamentation, but an angry comment on the people of the city. Those, especially those who brought this, those who brought destruction in the city. Name of the critic who explains the Nuremberg not as the lamentation over the destroyed city. Instead, the angry comment of the poet over the people who brought destruction in the city. I think Shalan must answer it.
Sorry.
Okay, so we go to Venedia. Nashmi,
So baby knowledge.
no dear.
Anointed.
That's right answer. Arnold Talentino. He is the critic who believed. Yeah. That the explanation of the poem as lamentation is not correct. Instead, it is a kind of angry attack on the people who brought that destruction in that city. That's good one here. Shalini, what's the meaning of the Christian poems? What's the meaning of the Christian poems? Again, upon by your reply, what's the meaning of Christian poems?
Holy purity.
Very good. Tell something more. That's nice. Mishra ji, what's the meaning of Christian poems?
Very holiness in poetry, purity, and Jesus Christ, in which Jesus Christ is dedicated to Jesus Christ, where the talk of cross has been told.
That's very good, very nice. Nashmi, come on, use your own word.
About Christian poem.
Yeah. What's the meaning of Christian poem? What kind of poem can be categorized as Christian poem?
So poem having Christian's teaching.
Yeah, that's very nice. Okay, good effort from you both, and even you tell us. In Christian poem, it is necessary that there should be a kind of Christian belief conveyed, Christian faith, Christian purity, Christian saints, Christian images, sometimes search for a cross, sometimes martyrdom. All these themes are going to be present. So after all, if we have to say in one word, a kind of poem that proposes or that propagandized kind of thought that is related to Christianity is going to be called Christian poem. Especially dedicated to Christian saints, cross, all these things. Holiness, purity, they are the part of that. That's good one here. Shalan, what was the length of the cross that was found in Ruthwell?
60. So, Ruthven.
Yeah. Length of that cross.
124 lines.
I'm talking about that cross, not the length of the poem. Cross that was found in Ruthwell.
Sorry, sir, I never do listen.
Okay, I think Kanchan will tell us.
So 5.5 meters.
That's right answer. 5.5 meters or 18 feet.
No.
That will Now we move to the last question. And the last question goes to you, Vinay. What's the name of the character who was stoned for being Christian in LNA? Was stoned for being Christian in LNA.
Elena?
No, she wasn't stoned here. How can you say so? Okay, I think Abhishek, have you any idea?
Sir, again, repeat question.
Tell the name of the character
Yes.
from the poem Eleni who was stoned for being Christian.
Judas.
No,
Who was
closer but
stoned?
not correct.
Syracuse.
No.
Sir, what is meaning of stone?
To put someone under stone.
What is stone? Sir, cross?
No. They don't get. In fact, there was a man, okay, who died.
Stephen.
That's right answer, Stephen. Stephen was stoned and he was Christian and brother of Judas. That's good one. So now we move to our today's teaching, and we know already that Geoffrey Chaucer is now continue with us. Last time we discussed in fact the biographical life of poet, when he was born, what was name of his parents, who was his wife, how many children they had, what was about his education, what was his political career, and when could he die, where was he buried, all such things were in our discussion. And with that we discussed about the rulers as well, those who were ruling at that time. And we come to know that there were the three rulers under whose life he could live. Shalan will tell the name of the rulers.
Edward III, Richard II, Henry IV.
Okay, so that's how his life goes. When he was born, it was the rule of Edward III.
Edward III.
In his youth, especially the prime time, he was under Richard II. And when he was close to die, just 1 year ago, he comes under the rule of Henry IV. Now, before going to discuss his creation and literary career, we would like to have some statements from the great masters who have paid their tribute to this mastermind. So we'll go home. Here are some statements. Matthew Arnold. With him is born our real poetry. Our real poetry. Okay. What's that meaning? With him is born our real poetry. We can understand that poetry was written even before Geoffrey Chaucer. But how that poetry should be written? What should be selection of word, selection of meter, selection of theme, like a professional poet, like a professional poetry that comes with Geoffrey Chaucer. So there is no doubt that he is considered as a as the father of English poetry as well. We discussed about John Dart. He considered him that he was the first man that made even the goddess of or muse of learning to speak English tongue for the first time. So he is the first man who popularized his language. So that's from Matthew Arnold that comes to us, and he tells about the importance of Chaucer's role in our poetry. Now we will move to the next statement.
Who said this statement?
Matthew Arnold. Matthew Arnold said this. With him is born our real poetry. Next comes from Ralph Waldo Emerson, R.W. Emerson. Ralph Waldo Emerson. The rich poets. Such as Homer, Chaucer, Shakespeare,
Homer, Joseph,
Shakespeare, and Raphael. And Raphael have obviously no limits. Have obviously no limits. To their life, and resemble a mirror, and resemble a mirror. Carried through the streets, carried through the streets. Ready to render, ready to render. An image of every created thing. An image of every created thing. See how he explained the creative power of Geoffrey Chaucer in his work, that there are some rich poets, like if we go to Greek, we find Homer. We go to England, we find Shakespeare. We go to Italian, we find Raphael as a poet. And if we come to England, early phase, like in middle period, so we'll find Geoffrey Chaucer. In their poetry, we don't find any kind of limit, no limits. What does that mean? Means whatever they wrote, that was not a fiction at all. It was like a mirror. We know that literature is a mirror of society. So whatever they wrote, whether Shakespeare wrote, whether Homer wrote, whether Raphael wrote, or Chaucer wrote. It was like a mirror. And if someone goes to read that work of Chaucer or Shakespeare, he will realize not only the pleasure of being reader of Shakespeare or Chaucer, but also the time he can see, the society he can see. It's like a mirror, and if a person with a mirror walks in a street, whole street is visible in that mirror. So the literature that we read from masterminds like Shakespeare, Chaucer, Homer, Raphael, it is just like a mirror. And a reader can render from one place to the next place. Anywhere you go, any work you read, not only one work, any work you read, you as a reader will find that he has given us a mirror of literature. And society is reflected there. One more statement and possibly more discussed statement that comes from Lowell, Lowell. He said, he found his native tongue he found his native tongue in dialect and left it a language. Left it a language. Okay, see what does that mean? He found his native as a dialect. I think the very first day when we were discussing about middle period, and with that we were discussing about language of middle period. We discussed that it was southern Wales from where we started picking up some English word as our dialect and mixed those words with French word, and that gave a kind of hype or popularity to the language we read today as a English language. So that's what Lowell reminds us, that it was the work of Geoffrey Chaucer that made us to believe that there is something that can be even more powerful, even more emphatic, even more representative, and sometimes you're more, we can say, sweeter than anything else. So this is English language. So the thing that was just like a dialect, every literate person was using it. After Chaucer's poetry, this language found some standard. This language found some name. So that's what the praise is. And many times in exam, this question has been asked. So remember, it was a statement from Lowell. Now I'll move to the next one. Sir Walter Raleigh. Sir Walter Raleigh. Raleigh, R-E-L-E-I-G-H. Walter Raleigh. I-G-H. He purified the English. He purified the English of his time from its dross, from It's dross. DROSS. Mark of exclamation. He shaped it. He shaped it into a fit instrument. Into a fit instrument for his use. For his use. See the words that Raleigh used. You know, Raleigh was a kind of poet from Elizabethan time and a good friend of Edmund Spenser and also William Shakespeare. He said what he did, he just tried to do to purify English language. Means it is not for the first time that English word came into existence. English language was used and many persons were speaking in those days in English. As dialect was, it was already there as a dialect, but it was never purified. Purified in the sense of grammar. How to use it in grammar? What should be its placing? Can poetry be written in this dialect as well? This was never felt with full certainty. What he did is that he purified this language and made English people believe that even their tongue, even their language can be as useful, as trustworthy as any other language. So they should show trust in their own language, and that's how he wrote poetry, no doubt. But poetry can be written in any language. Why did he choose it? Because he found his poetry, his language, his pupil. His poetry, his pupil, his language. So this a kind of national spirit, kind of patriotism must have been behind it, and he was inspired and made this language, English language, as his instrument of his own use. Because he has to write poetry, and he could write poetry better if he was using his own language. Sometimes even we Indians say that we can write better language, we can write better poetry if we are trying to use our language, if we are trying to use our tongue, otherwise never. So this had been his opinion as well. If anyone has to continue with his literature or literary works, he should be focusing on his own language, and it is responsibility of the pupil. You know, I think you have read a poem from Ralph Waldo Emerson in high school standard, I think, The Nation Builders. No? So there he has a quotation, I don't remember the lines very well, but I think he said that not gold, but the men of country make a country great. Make a people great, like this line is there. Means if a country has a lot of money, material prosperity, that money cannot be great. Because greatness is not always going to be related to money. Greatness is something that's related to virtue, that's related to goodness of a person, and this is how things happen in the life. But in the poem of his, he found that he should present any nationalistic spirit, and this nationalistic spirit reflects here the language that was of no use, that was just dialect, telecommunicative language. He made a standard language. So it is responsibility of the citizens of the country or the place that they can take their language even on a higher level. It is their responsibility. So this is what reflects here from Walter Raleigh, that the language that was of no use, he purified it and then molded it of his own use. He gave it a shape, okay, according to his own use, and it helped him to present his ideas. Okay, now I'll move to the next. E. Albert, the statement of E. Albert. Albert, Albert. This is statement. Chaucer is the earliest of the great moderns. Yeah, moderns, not modern. Yeah, DERNS, moderns. In fact, when we go to Geoffrey Chaucer, he is a man from the middle period. But if you try to see his language, see his characterization, see his faith in his language, see his belief in his pupil, you will be highly happy to find him working like that. Means he gave us a kind of opinion that was followed by later on some other modern writers. Modern don't think like a modern of the today. Okay. Because from 1600, not 1600 in fact, 1500, from 16th century, we believe modernity is entering. Early modern period. This is the name that we give. So here, A. Albert is talking about that sense. Because all the time, we are today modern, but after 50 years, we will be old. So modern is regularly defined. It is always changing. Many scholars believe that modernity or the spirit of Renaissance to write something above religion came with Geoffrey Chaucer, especially in his Canterbury Tales. At many places you will find that he is discussing about something that's completely human, and that is thought to be ignoble in Christianity as well. Ignoble in the sense of restricted by God, not to think about, not to do about. So this is why I think Albert considered him to be one of the greatest modern poets who could break the boundaries of the past and gave a new way of thinking, a new way of writing, a new medium of writing English language. So he was modern. Now I'll move to the next. A.C. Ward. A.C. Ward. W-A-R-D. Chaucer is the first great painter of character. Chaucer is the first great painter of character. Because he is the earliest. Because he is the first, not earliest. Because he is the first great observer of it. Great observer of it among European writers. Among European writers. Okay, you can believe, because we No, a better character sketch of the characters, especially of his own time. Because many times when we discuss Canterbury Tales, we discuss it to be the gallery of 14th century society. I think you have read it many times. In elaborative essays, sometimes such questions are asked me. Write an essay on the Canterbury Tales as a 14th century gallery. What is gallery?
Gallery is the presentation of people of that particular society in that era.
Okay. Gallery means a place where many paintings are stored or exhibited, shown. Okay? See reaction from Aminay. So that's a place where we show many images as a creation of some painter. See the word great painter of character. Means easy word, believe him a poet and a painter as well. Because many times it is supposed that there is no difference between a painter and a poet. What a painter does with the help of his brush, the same thing a poet does with the help of his pen. This is why a painting is also work of poetry, and a poetry also reflects the painting talent of the poet. If you ever have read Break, 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 you will find the whole imagination, whole scene floating right in front of your eyes. You can imagine the sea is there. You can imagine the poet standing on the seashore. You can imagine the sea waves coming and dashing with the church walls. Everything is very visible, like a picture is there, not a poetry. This shows the ability of a poet to make a picture out of his word, and it is ability of a painter to make poetry out of his painting. This is what we find in Geoffrey Chaucer when he presents his characters, various characters from various societies, okay? Different class, different language, different attire. He is able to do that as a painter is able to do with paint and brush. And it is not possible without observing persons. If you are not a great observer, you cannot be a painter or poet. Because we both, poet or painter, try to reflect from something from human life or life on this earth. To understand that life, we need to have observative nature and understanding. And if that's not going to happen, you are not a great poet, you are not a good poet. A poet must be able to understand human being or beings on the earth. And this is what we can find in Geoffrey Chaucer. He is skilled in making us laugh, skilled making us cry. He is able to play a fool, is able to play a king. Today we can do it all because we are now taught, trained and all these things. But in those days there were no schools like training school and all that. He was able to do it himself without any guide, without any help. This is what something special about Geoffrey Chaucer, and A.C. Ward noticed it, that he was a great observer, and this observing quality of his makes him great painter and poet. Observation is very necessary. When we go to Shakespeare, what do we find? Almost the same thing. This is why Emerson considered him to be one of the greatest poets in the world, rich minds in the world. Those who wrote anything, wrote it in such a way, like if you're reading any work of his or her, you can find the whole society in that, like a mirror carrying him straight. That's ability that comes only after observing people, observing everything that's around you on early stage, and it goes to Geoffrey Chaucer. He could observe it, he could see it, how the things were happening, how the things were going on, how people were behaving, how they were speaking, according to their class, according to their place, according to their region. This was presented in Canterbury Tales. So this way, as you find it. And now we will move to next one. Aldous Huxley. Aldous Huxley. Next statement. Aldous Huxley's statement. A-L-D-O-U-S. Aldous Huxley. H-U-X-L-E-Y. Where Langland, where W-H-E-R-E, where Langland cries, aloud in anger, aloud in anger, threatening the world, threatening the world with hell fire, comma. Chaucer looks on and smiles. Okay, the two great poets of that era, and Huxley tries to give us a comparative study. William Langland with his Piers Plowman is really renowned poet of that era. And no doubt the Canterbury Tales is always on the tongue of the scholars of English. So we cannot forget, especially three works I can say. Confessio Amantis, that's from John Gower. William Langland's The Piers Plowman, and Chaucer's The Canterbury Tales. These are the three great works from the old period that we cannot forget. And we definitely find kind of similarity in their career, in their writing. But when there comes comparison, and Huxley is trying to compare these two, the two were trying to make people of his era understand what's the meaning of life and how one should live. You know already that it was a religious era before that. So even in that time, some scholars were threatening people through their writing. If they are not going to follow Christian belief, they will be punished and all these things will happen to them. Like curse, fire of hell, nothing will be saved, everything will burn down, all such kind of things. This kind of threatening you will find from the works of William Langland. But when we as a scholar go to Geoffrey Chaucer, what we find is our laughter, is our smile. It means the things that frightened William Langland could amuse Geoffrey Chaucer. The things that Langland thought to be kind of threatening, to be kind of menace to our society, were loving and sweet for Geoffrey Chaucer. And he presented it. He presented it in his works. And this is why when you read Canterbury Tales, most of time you are laughing through communication, through characterization and their behavior. Everything is marvelous. And we can be laughing. It is the very craft of that poet. He makes us at home with his theme. He was not a man to make us to be away from the poetry and not to be thinking it to be something that you can crack a joke and all these. Because poetry in those days was something very serious. Aristotle told us it should be serious imitation. And as we know that in old days, poetry meant literature. In old days, poetry meant literature. So literature should be something serious, not comic element. And this is why perhaps he gave least importance to comedy. And he compared on a festive day, if there is going to be performance of plays on that festive day, there should be three plays to be performed from tragedy and one play from comedy. Tragedy was something serious for great people and comedy was farcical for the lower class, for boisterous laughter and all that. But Chaucer could make a kind of balance in his poetry. You cannot lack seriousness, you cannot lack laughter. Both you will find. So he was a bit better than William Langland. Langland was always serious and scolding us for committing any theft, scolding us for committing any mistake. Chaucer was smiling. I think I remember a line from Matthew Arnold's sonnet when he wrote praising William Shakespeare. And I don't recall the lines exactly, but there had been a thought like we question and question, thou looks on and smiles. These are the words. Means when he says others abide our question, thou art free. Okay. There he was telling us how, there are two type of people, two type of scholar, not people. One is scholar, when you go with question, they feel angry. They don't enjoy your questions because sometimes they are in trouble to answer those questions and they cannot tolerate their insult in front of scholars. So they are angry, they try to avoid questions. And there are some scholars who love your questions. Whenever a questioner goes to him, he very lovingly solves and lovingly tells all questions. And even though if he doesn't know, he is never angry. And simply he can say, sorry, right now there is no information regarding the topic, I will tell you later. Very lovingly. But the man who gives more importance to his status, to his name, he will never be enjoying your questions. What is special about Shakespeare is that you can put all kind of question and he is a man who is always happy with your question. He looks on you and smile. Because questions can be done on something that's a bookish. That's the bookish, you can question on that kind of thing. But when the things are out of books, you cannot question. Praising Shakespeare, he said, "Out-topping knowledge." Shakespeare is not found in books. Shakespeare is not made from books. He is a man who is above these bookish knowledge, outtopping this knowledge. He is a man who could observe things around him. He was great observer of the things. Like Caesar from Julius Caesar, he was also very great observer. It was Julius Caesar who first read the hungry eyes of Cassius. He told about the hungry eyes of Cassius to his faithful Mark Antony. The very beginning of the play, if you have read. So to be great observer of mankind, man mind, it is always a great thing, great feeling. And we have seen Shakespeare with that. So Shakespeare has been praised for making effort demanding things effortless. I mean, the things in those days that were very tough to tell, to convey, very lovingly Shakespeare could present. The same way, the things that could disturb William Langland in those days, very lovingly Geoffrey Chaucer presented in his poetry. And this loving feeling, this simplicity can be felt by readers when they are reading either of the poets. So this is a kind of special achievement from Chaucer that A.C. Ward found. Now we move to the next one. Emily Legois. Emily, E-M-I-L-E. Emily Legois. L-E-G-O-U-I-S. Legois. O-U-I-S. Legois. Of all writers of genius, of all writers of genius, comma, Chaucer is the one with whom, the one
Chaucer
is the one with whom it is easiest to have a sense of comradeship, comrade, C-O-M-R-E-D-E-S-H-I-P, comradeship. Okay, you know, comradeship is kind of friendship, okay, friend feeling, without feeling of superiority and inferiority. This is what comrade word is for. And you must remember, when I will give another mysterious look at Abhishek, there had been some reason, I think. Okay, if you have read a beautiful novella, Animal Farm, by George Orwell, you'll find that the same word has been used in the starting of the novel, but ultimately, by the end of the novel, the word is left away. Because comradeship doesn't make any distinction between people. Everybody is of the same race, same respect, same place, same post, everything is going to be the same. This is what Eleni Legois wants to tell us. Because when you read someone like genius persons, if you ever read Sorry to say, I love Milton G. But sometimes when we read Milton G, it feels like someone is very witty, very scholarly, very intelligent, and he is pouring out all his intelligence before his scholars. Scholars are in difficulties to find out the mythical meaning of the words and all these things, and he continues pouring his myths, his scholarship. This makes a difference between the reader and the writer. Writer thinks himself to be superior. He tries to use some difficult words to show his scholarship, like modern writers. Many modern writers you find that they present such mysterious mysteries, images, symbolism that makes it difficult to explore, and common reader cannot understand them. If you go to T.S. Eliot, it's never easy because of his images, his allusions, symbols in W.B. Yeats, they will never make you at home. You cannot read him easily. You will have to exert your mind to its top level. Only great scholars can enjoy. But when we read Chaucer like poet, it's never away from us. Means he mingles with his reader. Whatever kind of reader is there, and if he goes to read what Geoffrey Chaucer has written, he will find it very exactly in the same word, like friendly is talking. It's not making any difference between himself and the reader.
So which is better in modern?
I think always it's better to be very communicative, to be very friendly with the reader or audience. I will tell you a movie, in fact. I think Guzarish is the movie, I think, acted by Aishwarya Ji and Hrithik Roshan. That's a beautiful movie.
Yes.
Beautiful movie if you watch it. Critically you can acclaim it, but audience is nowhere. Audience didn't go to watch that movie, that had been flop movie. The reason was very simple.
But it is extraordinary.
That definitely extraordinary. But what is the main lack in that movie? The author, the director of the movie fails to communicate with his audience. Audience find difficult to understand it. And if we, as an audience, find anything difficult in theater, we will not go there. In fact, reality in theater is that we don't want to use our brain.
Yes.
We want to use only our eyes. Means little bit use of our brain and full pleasure to our eyes. That's a super hit movie. This is what the secret is there. But some movies are exceptional, like this Guzarish. They want to appeal to our heart, to our mind. So we are fed up. Don't go to watch. Appreciate it, but don't go to watch. This happens. Means there are two kind of writers. One who like to communicate with readers better, in a friendly way, in the way that reader can understand. Like if we are a literal person, okay, for example, and we go to some illiterate locality, and we have to make them understand meaning of education in English. And we start communicating in English. Imagine the scene. At last, only you will be the speaker and you will be the listener. No listener will be there.
They will throw the stones.
Maybe they will consider you bad. Because communication is very bad. Okay? They find the language too difficult to stay there. For them it will be waste of their time. So, skilled speaker likes to use the local language. Like if any Bollywood star comes to Bihar, he first addresses in the Bihari tone. If he comes to UP, he uses UP tone. Why? This makes him to be someone very close to him. The difference between a star and the fan almost goes away at that moment when a star is using local language or coming in local dress. These are the things. Means the same is about writer. Because writer makes communication with his reader through his words, through his phrases. The jokes that we read in the book are the jokes from the writer. Imagine at the moment when he is writing. Imagine at the moment when he is writing. He was writing and he was laughing. Imagine about Porter scene. Shakespeare must have laughed when he was writing that Porter scene. Shakespeare must have laughed when he was writing Dagger scene. The type of police communication continues there. He must have created some laughter. That moment he laughed. And when reader or watchers are there, audience is there. Audience is even today laughing. Means the communication that started that moment is still continue. This is a better communication, and this we find when we study especially Canterbury Tales, that's in our course as well. So there we find that Chaucer is not trying to prove himself to be great scholar. He's trying to make that pupil of the time to come should understand what kind of jokes, what kind of dresses, what kind of behavior we had right in front of each other. So he is very close to us. And this is what I think Emily Legois had in her mind when she appreciated Matthew Arnold's understatement. To our praise, to our praise, comma, therefore of Chaucer, therefore, comma, of Chaucer, as a poet, full stop. There must be this limitation, semicolon. He lacks the high seriousness. Underline this line. He lacks the high seriousness of the great classics, and therefore an important part of their virtues. Okay. He lacks the high seriousness. This is the point that we must notice. When Emily appreciates Chaucer for showing his comradeship, means ending a kind of gap between a great scholar with a seriousness and common people with comic elements. She appreciates, but here Matthew Arnold finds that he lacks the high seriousness of great scholars. Because in those days it was believed only persons who are serious, they are great scholars. I give you a very good example where you can understand it very easily. Now you see a modern bridegroom, and you go to 50 years back bridegroom. Grooms were there, Grooms are here, and grooms will be in there as well, if luck favors. Because time changing so fast. So, in those days, grooms, when they go on their wedding day to the bridegroom, bride's home, he was never to smile, must be very serious. No smile on his face, I'm just smiling. The seriousness was something that was considered to be quality of great personality. Dula is very nice, very serious. Okay, this is what Pawan Bhai is thinking about his chance. He will be considered to be very serious Dula. And today, the scenario is changed. Today, meaning is changed. Today's Dula is better. That one who goes and cracks jokes and mingles with people, laughs with people, and all these things does. How the meaning is changed. This is what happens with the society, this is what happens with literature. In those days, middle period, the great poet is one who writes with seriousness. And today, we think that great poets can be in both forms. Comedy is considered as great art of literature. As a tragedy, we give value to our comedians, we love them, we appreciate our tragedians. Both way. It means today we don't make discrimination based on their activities like comedy or like but in those days it was because literature was considered to be something serious. So this seriousness definitely Chaucer lacked, and that's why sometimes he faces some criticism as well because he was not according to the standard of his own days. His days says he should be serious, but he said, why should I be serious? I should enjoy it. The moment we are seeing, we must present it in the literature, not a fake account, true account go in literature. So that's the difference, and that's for what Matthew said, that he lacks the high seriousness of great classics. Now we'll move to William J. Long. William J. Long. Okay, Chaucer's poetry is extremely musical, and must be judged by the ear rather than by the eyes. Okay. What I see fault, grammar rules, spellings, placing of words, but our ear is soothed by music only. Whatever placing of the word is, whatever the spelling of the word is, if it is going to please, it's going to give us happiness through its sweet melody, so that's good. And poet has two qualities. Poet can never be grammatically correct. We cannot expect poet especially to be correct according to grammar. So if one goes to find faults in Geoffrey Chaucer according to the rules of grammar, is mistaken. He is mistaken because Chaucer is not a grammarian. Because we know that grammar especially comes in existence with the dictionary of Dr. Samuel Johnson. And after that, a defined way of writing started during the neoclassical era. But before that, we are talking about 14th century literature, where even English language was in no existence, primarily no existence. And we were trying to find out even our first poet in England. So we cannot expect him to be grammatically correct. So it is not justice to try to judge such a great scholar according to the rules of grammar that are defined today. He is a man of music. He was a man like a singer. He sang something that was very touching, reaching to every ear. So whenever there is a chance to judge a poet like Geoffrey Chaucer, it's an appeal from William Long, not to judge him according to your eyes, finding his fault in his spelling and all that, but to listen him when you are closing your eyes and opening your ears. Closing your eyes and opening your ears, you will see how soothingly the words of Chaucer entering your ear and don't want to go back. Don't want to come out of your next ear. They want to stay back in your mind. You will be enjoying it all the time. This is what the beauty of Geoffrey Chaucer is. If Geoffrey Chaucer fails to satisfy your reason, he is always successful to satisfy your mind, your ear, your heart when you listen to him. So you should be just with that mind, not with the mind of finding fault in his spellings. So these were some great comments on on Geoffrey Chaucer, and I think you should learn them. And these tributes, I can say, will make you understand the personality of Geoffrey Chaucer. How grand a person he was, that even today scholars follow him, try to imitate him, try to appreciate him, and cannot go ahead without paying their tribute to him. As a father of English poetry and English language, everything. Okay, so that's all for the day. We'll continue and work hard. Okay.
Thanks.